want to know which planet was causing your suffering? How about Earth?
Hey everyone, Brandflakes here, back with a new Duels of Eden video. For today's video, I want to kind of upgrade my spells overview series and instead make it a card set or a spell package overview series. I'll decide on the name more concretely when I'm in my thumbnail and title stage, but for now, those are the two names I'm floating for this series, this updated series rather. Basically, I realized when I was making my spells overview series, I was like, I'm just talking about a set of cards anyways. So why don't I just save myself a lot of time in the future and talk about cards as like a harmony with the other cards that they're good with. That way you guys know what they pair well with. And obviously you guys don't have to stick to these core cards I'm going to be bringing up in these sets. But if you guys want to replace them, then hopefully this video will give you more insight on what you can replace them with, or rather what enhances them if you just want to build onto that deck list. So before I get into that, I just want to quickly plug again that I am going to try and host a tournament around March 11th. The start.gg page I think is ready. I'll probably just post it attached to this video on the comment and description. CalEXE or CalX, should probably ask him how his name is pronounced. They are providing me a very clean looking poster that I'll post on Discord, Twitter, and anywhere else, probably on YouTube as well, to just advertise the tournament, and I'm really appreciative of their work. But yeah, if you guys are curious about information, please let me know. Please tell your friends. I'm going to try and hold more coaching series and more informative videos so that we can all catch up to the upper level of play, because I do think that with, again, good practice, we can all catch up and do really well. Well, I say we as if I'm playing on organizing, but you know what I mean. So anyways, with all that plugging aside, we can jump right into the video and talk about the Whirl package, or Whirl spell set. I'll just call it package, whatever. So obviously I've already made a spell overview for Whirl. So if you guys want to watch that for some more detailed views into Whirl itself, then you can watch that. But I'll try and briefly summarize that video here as well. So the Whirl package is going to be a set of 5 cards. These cards are going to be Step Slash, Auto Slash, Push Slash, Whirl, and Backstab. So very quickly, if you guys don't know what these cards are, Auto Slash is going to be a dash that targets the tile in front of your enemy. And then when you reach that tile, you're going to slash in a 1x3. And if you hit your opponent, or whatever you hit rather, gets pushed backwards 1 tile. Step Slash is going to be a very similar spell, but instead you go to a very concrete spot 3 tiles ahead of you, and then you slash in a 2x3 tile with no push effect. So you just do the 4 damage to that tile. Push Slash is going to be no movement, just a pure slash, very fast spell. It's going to hit 2x3, strong push the opponent, which pushes them all the way back to their backmost tile, and then it's going to also deal 5 damage. I probably already said that. Whirl, really strong card. It's going to be 1 mana. It's going to deal 10 damage overall over 5 hits. It's a very precise spell with a lot of lag time if you whiff, and it hits exactly 3 tiles away. And then Backstab, probably the card that I have a vendetta against the most, but it's a very, very classic spell in this game. It's going to hit the back column. It's going to deal 6 and do a pull, which will drag your opponent towards you by 1 tile. Or not towards you, but forwards towards the front of the board by 1 tile, if that makes sense. So these cards are all very damage efficient. The worst damage cards are these steps, which deal 4 damage each, which is still pretty high for the damage economy in this game. Push Slash, Whirl, and Backstab are all above rate in that regard, where Push Slash does 5 damage, Whirl does a whopping 10, and Backstab does a very decent 6. So these cards all flow into each other quite well. Obviously, the Step package flows very well into the Push Slash card because it lets you move Push Slash. They also combo into each other quite well, with the exception of Auto Slash, Step Slash. As you can see, Auto Slash, Step Slash will put the Step Slash off the board. So just remember when you're trying to learn these cards that you should always use Step Slash first if you have the choice, or just don't use Step Slash if you're already dashing over to the other side. So if you do that, you better have a really good reason to do that. Like maybe you have a Step Lance that you're trying to cheese your opponent with, because if you do use Step Slash, your opponent can't easily punish you, or you just burn a really strong spell for free. Now, Push Slash and Whirl and Backstab, obviously the very classic combo where you can push your opponent back, backstab into Whirl them. The way that these steps work with this is that if you're behind or on your backmost column, then you can use Step Slash into Push Slash, Backstab Whirl. which obviously is a very strong usage of mana. It's 4 mana for 25 damage, which is a quarter of your opponent's HP, and definitely a kill at critical levels. If you're gonna, and remember that if you're doing this combo, you have to walk after Step Slash, or else you'll get dragged back, and then the combo won't work. As you can see here, when I do this, my Whirl just kind of pops up back here, but I still do 15 damage for 3 mana, which is pretty good, but obviously I want to hit Whirl. Now, a very quick attack you have to do for that is you can move back and forth very quickly with after Step Slash, and because of how fast Push Slash is, that'll still give you time to follow the combo up, but in the meantime, I would just recommend going for the off angle, just like walk up into Push Slash backstab Whirl, because that's going to be much more consistent, and you will have to do a funny little ping dependent movement combo there. And now obviously, as we discussed with Whirl before, Auto Slash Whirl is a very, very powerful combo. 14 damage for 2 mana. If you do not return cancel, obviously if we're doing Auto Slash Whirl and your opponent's not on the 3rd column or 4th column, you do have to walk backwards to hit Whirl. And if you walk back onto your board, as we saw with Step Slash earlier, you lose the anchor cancel property. So you can see here that if I do Auto Slash Whirl, Auto Slash Step Back Whirl into Sparkler, there's a gap 3 for my combo, but if my opponent was to be off the board and then I did this combo instead, let's say that they're over here, if I do it this way, you can see that the Sparkler is now a true combo. I think I lost a bit of damage because of, yeah, I lose a little bit of damage, funnily enough, because of how Whirl interacts. I have to do Step Back anyways. Actually, what's going on? I think it's because he's not all the way back in the corner. I seem to be losing a Whirl tick somewhere here, but just trust me, if this is done properly, it's 16 damage. I have no idea where the Whirl tick's going. It's going crazy. Huh. Just give me 1 second while I entertain myself with this combo for a brief moment. There we go. So you can see there, 16 damage if you do the combo properly with Sparkler. And yeah, these cards give you very good coverage. These cards cover a lot of the map. Obviously, if you have Whirl, just Whirl at the end, feel free to shuffle it. It's quite greedy to go for a combo with your weapons only into Whirl, unless you're very, very confident you can read your opponent, or your weapon enablers are very low lag, so like Sparkler on Saffron, Hue on Chiretta, even Maple's first hit, I don't know the name of, if they're at high HP. These are all good options to make Whirl more usable if it's your last card, but don't be attached to Whirl being your last card, because if you missed, you can be punished very, very strongly. So this set of cards is obviously a bit precise. Backstab, Push Slash, Step Slash, Auto Slash, like these aren't the most precise spells, but your opponent can play around them with some pretty good success. So the support cards you want to put, obviously you need 8 cards for a full deck. The support cards you can put are either going to be more ward cards like Thunder, because Thunder can combo off of this Push Slash backstab combo very easily. If you use Thunder after Push Slash, now you're doing 28 damage for 4 mana, which is obviously extremely, extremely high. But Thunder is a precise spell that won't help you hit these other spells. It's another payoff card. So if you're confident that you can hit that Thunder as a more reward spell, then go ahead, run it. It'll add a lot of burst to your deck. If you're like me and you really need to rely on more broad spells that will help you hit your opponent or pressure your opponent more, then stuff like Minigun, stuff like Fire Breath, even stuff like Javelin and Kunai, these can all be very decent cards along with this package, because they provide a different type of hitbox. Obviously, Minigun, Javelin, Kunai are going to be projectiles, and the reason why projectiles are really, really good is because the way that people will often play around step cards is to walk forwards and backwards, because you can walk in front or behind the steps very easily. And then projectiles, obviously, to play around those, you have to move up and down. So in your deck with projectiles, your opponent has to keep in mind that they have to walk up and down for one set of cards, and then back and then left and right for the other set of cards, which can really make it hard for them to keep track of what you're going to do, especially if you have both set of cards in your hand. So if you have something like Step Slash Javelin, now your opponent has to think about, okay, I need to see if I can get diagonals to my opponent and hope they don't read my movement properly, because if they catch me while I'm walking left and right because I want to dodge Step Slash and they use Javelin instead, then they're going to hit Javelin, they're going to hit the Step Slash anyways. And if I'm moving up and down to dodge the Javelin and they hit me with Step Slash instead, then that's going to be Javelin guaranteed. And because again of how these spells work, what can end up happening really quickly is that you can actually just end up going like step slash javelin, auto slash push slash, and that's going to be 16 damage, right? These cards all work together, and if you're fast enough, you can see there that you can even buffer Whirl at the very end. So you can see how these spells all work very, very well together. Javelin, obviously, a strong pressure card because it forces them to deal with the mark. And with how Whirl works, it lasts so long that there's like a very, very narrow time frame where you can dodge the entirety of Whirl. And since the mark is on top of them, you can actually control their dodge timer by just forcing them to respect the Whirl. And if they dodge too early to dodge the Whirl, they'll get hit by mark, which lets you combo them. And if they dodge too late, then you'll cancel their dodge by whirling them, which means they'll take 13 because of the mark popping during Whirl. So Javelin, obviously very strong. Kunai, very similar reason to Javelin, just a very strong projectile spell. Minigun just covers a lot of pressure, gives you a lot of time to walk up to combo off of your spells. Obviously, that wasn't a true combo, but it's a gap 1, which means that it is essentially a true combo for Whirl because, again, you can't hit step out of it. And then, obviously, Minigun works with step slash push slash auto slash as well very easily because you can, you know, do these combos with push slash as well with minigun. So again, when you have like push slash minigun backstab, that's still a combo with Whirl because you can do the entire thing here. And so Fire Breath is just also going to be a very strong card with this package because it provides you with very, very strong row or column 3 denial. And the really messed up thing about Fire Breath is that you can see there, let me move the bot so that it doesn't like interrupt or doesn't get tagged. You can see here that when I cast Fire Breath, your opponent, if they're in the third column, then they're naturally going to walk into the back column. And because of how these spells overlap, you can actually force your opponent into the scenario where they have to dodge or they have to shield one of these spells, which guarantees that they will take damage somehow. Unless your opponent is just very, very confident and running forwards and predicting your Fire Breath, in which case they have to walk very quickly because you can see that the second hitbox of Fire Breath also comes out very, very fast. So they have to read your Fire Breath before you throw it, or also get tagged by the second column Fire Breath, which will still damage them. And depending on the character, you can still get a combo there. So obviously, as Saffron, my Sparkler won't hit, but let's say that their hand is Fire Breath, Push Slash, and you see the backstab in their third card, and you know your opponent can read their own hand that this fast. Now you're in a situation where if you're standing in the third column and your opponent presses Fire Breath, they're now stuck in this really tough situation where they can walk back and shield and then take a ton of shield damage and potentially get pressured by a Whirl anyways, or they can walk forward and try and dodge through the Fire Breath, just get Push Slash into backstab, and it's just an entire scenario where there's a lot to think about. And obviously you can play around it. It's not like a catch-22 where there's no winning situation, but it's just a very tough situation to be in. And because of how all these cards work, like for example, if you have Fire Breath, if you're fast enough, you can actually combo Fire Breath with Whirl, and because Fire Breath leaves a flame tile, your 2-mana combo is now going to do up to 17 damage, which is insane for how good these spells are. Obviously, this won't be a true combo everywhere. I think it's only a true combo at certain places, like here, if you're just 2 away, it's a gap 11, so you're not going to get that value off of it. So if your opponent's really daring, they can just walk into you, tank the Fire Breath early, and then smack you. But again, that's a very high pressure situation that they have to evaluate the scenario in. And then obviously you can play characters like Chiretta, Saffron, Violet. You know, most of the characters in the game work very, very well off of this specific package because most characters don't have kits that wouldn't work with this. I think the singular character that isn't really comfortable with this particular list is going to be Shopkeeper, just because Shopkeeper doesn't have any spells that would be interfering with this set of 5 spells. And so yeah, again, you can run more Payoff if you're really confident, like more Thunder, Hailstone. You can run more enabler cards like Fire Breath. You can even run Bomb just to pressure your opponent in the back row a bit more. Bomb obviously is going to be very effective with this list because you have Push Slash to push your opponent back into the bomb. And if you're a character with like a good prime for the back row, then what's going to happen to them is that they're going to have to deal with the bomb in the back row if they like playing back row, or if they're melee characters, then you just get a fat payoff of an extra 12 damage. And obviously you do have to spend mana on the bomb itself and priming it, but it's a very, very good payoff for what it does, especially since it's permanent. And the best part about bomb, that probably should be its own video, but it's something that people don't really talk about too much, is that if you put bomb in their back column, remember how step slash forces you to walk 3 tiles ahead. So let's just say, for example, I can use pull for this scenario just really quickly because I know bomb's a very classic card to use with this spell. If I am the enemy Charetta, or if I'm trying to hit the enemy Charetta, right? Let's say the Charetta is going to be up here. So my step slash, if I'm standing here, I can hit her if I'm standing on the topmost column or the third or the first row or the third row, right? Or even the second row. But let's say that somehow the bomb, let's say that they Charetta threw a bomb. And it's going to be, let me see if I can actually get this done correctly because I really want to show this example. So let's say that the Charetta has managed to throw the bomb into that particular space. Now, instead of being able to use all these spaces to position bomb to hit the Charetta on the front row, now I only have these 2 spaces to hit Charetta because if I walk up 1, then I'm no longer able to hit the front row with step slash because, again, it puts me exactly 3 tiles ahead. So if there's a bomb in this area on my my first column, now the only way I can hit the Charetta is if I'm standing exactly at this tile, or if I walk up and around and go to this tile. So if you're playing with a bomb and you place it on your enemy's back row, then you suddenly have a very strong space against step slashes because you can just dance around this top area. And if your opponent wants to hit you and you're standing up here, with step slash, they have to walk all the way around, and that's going to be, instead of just 1 movement up, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, which is 4 times as long. So very strong tool with bomb. Bomb obviously makes your combos all the more powerful. You might accidentally blow yourself up if you step into bomb. The very classic scenario with a bomb blow up is going to be if the bomb's in the back row, and then you step slash and you are, instead of being here on the second column, you are on the first column, which is less than ideal because then you hit yourself, which is almost always going to be a misplay, but sometimes you're just mashing and your opponent's going to die, so you just run for it. And then even in this scenario, like let's say that I'm quote unquote misplaying, I just want to do I see the opportunity to go for a step slash, like it doesn't matter that I take 12 damage on exchange, I did 22 damage in return. So as long as you don't tie or lose the game for blowing up your bomb, it's almost always going to be a good reward if you hit the opponent with it. But yeah, that'll be it for this video. This video went a bit longer than I wanted to go, but hopefully I covered a lot of good information. I covered the extender, or I covered the enablers, I covered the other payoff cards to go well with it, I covered the enhancing cards that make it all more powerful. Obviously, you can pick and choose your other cards to go with these 5 cards however you want. Just understand that there are cards that go better with this list than some other cards, or you're going to want to have a very specific niche to fill with those extra cards. Anyways, reminder about the tournament once again, if you've gotten this far, thank you so much for watching. Let me know if this video format is a little better or if this idea is a bit better. And I hope you guys have a good day or night wherever you are. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.